新赛季我觉得我最大的进步是更为团队着想了，想着怎么去帮助团队建立优势这种东西。然后新来的新 AD Light 的话，他也是一个非常强的 AD，就是我们的不同是可能我经验比他多一点，然后也很享受和他竞争的感觉。
There you go. We have Crystal not only talking about his AD carry on his team, but also how he feels like he's improved coming into this split, being a bit more of a team player. He was a little bit aggressive in that last match, but he does feel like he's a bit more of a team player now.
Definitely. I feel like even in those instances, you look back to when he first came into the LPL and you see real growing points, right? So I love the fact you talked about the AD carry and the team Light who's getting hyped up, right? There's a lot of new AD carries coming into the LPL. I'll hopefully get to see him at least once. But yeah, that's fun to see him thinking about that, being a lot more, or at least valuing his experience in the league.
Well, we're going to go into Game 3 shortly. FunPlus Phoenix going up against Snake Esports. In that last match, we got to see Urgot being picked up in the top lane. I know we've talked about it time and time again, but Raz, I know you have a few words that you want to say about this champion.
I have an opinion on this. Yes, I do. Okay, here's the thing. If you're going to play Urgot top lane, please play to the Urgot. Please bring your jungler up top lane. Please bring a roaming mid laner to be able to get that matchup ahead. It is an early game laning focused champion that you want to be able to dominate early. And GP does pretty well into the matchup. It has range answers. You can farm pretty okay with it. You have the orange to kind of deal with the ult suppression. That's something that he can deal with if he's alone in the matchup, and he was. And so Urgot built armor boots. He just realized that he was just stuck in the lane, and I was like, okay, well, guess what's going to happen? You're going to go into these massive team fights, and what do? You just run around with 8 legs, absolutely useless in these team fights. So I would say that if you're going to play the pick, play to the pick.
Well, they weren't able to do that. Maybe we'll get some more Urgot running around on 8 legs, as both Clement and Raz has mentioned. And I think Dom mentioned during the cast as well, 3,000 at goal was on the top lane to Flandre playing Gangplank. But the main question I really want to ask here is, who is the better team going into game number 3? Because we've already seen FPX pick up a game. They looked good in game 2, but that went to Snake instead. So who's the better team?
I am still going to stand by FPX because I feel like it is their mistakes that are giving the game back to Snake. That Snake are simply capitalizing on where they make errors as opposed to Snake grabbing the reins of the game, holding that driver's wheel and then just plowing through FPX. It was Pepper getting caught out, 40 minutes on Raptor Camp, on enemy Raptor Camp, which is like, okay, stop intentionally feeding. Boom, you'll probably win the game. LWX jumping forward into harm's way. Okay, maybe learn how to position in a team fight better than that. And I think if you clean that up, FPX win pretty easy.
And that's the big point, is that whenever you get to a more scrappier, skirmish-heavy gameplay and you're going up against Snake, that's when Snake can take wins, or at least historically has. And so I felt like I still saw some really good points from FPX when they were using their realm warps pretty intelligently, especially when they used it to be able to get to the mid lane and get the rip trails going.
Or even out of the Baron pit.
Exactly. So there are some great points to them. There just needs to be more stability as the game goes on, and that's what they lack this time around.
We've already seen FPX pick up some interesting picks, like the Urgot. We've seen a few interesting champions like Gangplank, which has already been played earlier on in the week. What are we going to expect to change between these two teams going into that third and final game?
I think we'll play a bit more standard. I think there's going to be more emphasis on grabbing Camille again. I think Gimgoon feels very comfortable on that champion, but Snake shouldn't let that through.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just to echo to the point, Gimgoon was an explorer that game too, and I don't want him exploring. I want him to just go back to the stock standard.
We already had a lot of exploring going on from Urgot as well as Gimgoon there. Going into the third match, you already said, expected change coming out from top side of map, especially. What about the bottom lane? We talked a lot about LWX as well. Is he going to be that hyped up player that's really flashy, jumping into the opposition still? Will we see him, a bit more laid back now?
Hopefully he tones down the aggression. I think we're going to still see Tristana because the pick has been so successful for them. Snake actually really need to tweak their bottom lane because they're getting blown out in the lane phase both games.
And have we ever seen a toned down LWX? Real question here. I know we saw it on the video piece a little earlier on about the experience of Flandre, or at least experience of Crystal. Crystal saying that, well, he's now
a team player.
Exactly, he's a team player. And even though that last game was probably not the best example of that, we saw him being able to play more with the team throughout I would say throughout last year, in the end of the year, or earlier on, I would say in the third-party tournaments. That's a great thing that he's had. I think LWX needs that experience.
Yeah, I would agree. LWX reminds me very much of Name as kind of that play style where he tries to maximize his damage output before going down. And that sounds like, of course, every ADC would want to maximize their damage output. But the thing that made Name different from someone like Uzi is Uzi's target selection was always incredibly good, but Name would be the dude who dashes forward or jumps forward to maximize that damage output before dying. So when it works, looks great. When it doesn't, egg on his face. And that's LWX for me.
100%. I agree with that holistically.
Well, that's enough from us here at the Analyst Desk. We're going to go into game number 3 very shortly between FPX going up against Snake Esports. We're going to send it over to our casters. It's going to be Dom as well as Clement.
我觉得主客场的优点的话，如果能去到客场，像四川、成都这种地方的话，因为我比较喜欢吃辣嘛，所以去这种地方吃火锅会比较开心吧。我觉得主客场的缺点的话，就是可能要坐车啊，或者要坐飞机，就比较累吧，可能会。
Welcome back, everyone. We're getting into our final game of this Friday night. Game 3 between FPX and Snake, the newest, hottest rivalry to hit the LPL here. And already, we've got a couple of bans on the board. Kalista Alistair banned away from Crystal and Hudie. That's LWX's Kog'Maw. Jarvan taken away as FPX now find themselves on the blue side. And we don't have time for pleasantries, Clement. We're getting right into the action.
You didn't even get a shot of us, so we're coming right back in here. FPX banning out Snake's most prominent bot lane. We've seen Snake pick Kalista on the red side in the first rotation multiple times in the Demacia Cup. So again, they're taking it away. Ryze is also, I personally feel like it's Guoguo's best champion for Snake. Now, Guoguo has been known to play very intelligently with his Realm Orb, get engages with his team. So all 3 of these bans, I feel like, are really well placed from FPX now. Now Snake has to think about what they kind of want to take out of FPX's playbook. So far, I feel like the Tristana has been a huge problem for them, especially in the late game. They really need to run into that composition, and that lets FPX set up everything else.
We're looking at the final ban. Some furious words from the coach of Snake as they're trying to lock it in. Tarek taken away. Now Camille is open. Ornn is open. Vladimir is open. Azir. There are so many strong picks up. How are FPX going to try to choose from this litany available to them?
Yeah, Vladimir is definitely one of the, I think it's a higher priority one currently in the LPL. It can be played in the mid lane as well, so you get that flex pick potential in the first rotation. I feel like that's just a solid move. The champions that we are looking, Camille is still up, Ornn is still up, also Malzahar being locked down. So far from this series, it does seem like that nobody really plays Zoe, so that's just been completely off the table right now.
Good to see Guoguo returning back to the Malzahar that he really has been starting to find his ground on in this series, really synergizing with SofM. You can see he's sharing a few words with his coach. Can you do the Kha'Zix? Can you do it? And FPX nods and locks it in.
Yeah, I like this combo here from the Malzahar and the Kha'Zix. It gives them mid lane priority a lot of the times. It's very easy to set up a play here. And also, when you're playing a Vladimir, you're usually running a composition that has to go forward into the enemy team. And Malzahar is very good against that.
Ooh, the Azir looks to be a hover now. With Zoe available, so many other champions ready. Looks like that's going to be what it is as the clock times out. Bing in the mid lane, taken off his Ryze for the first time in this series, going head-to-head against Guoguo's Malzahar.
It's kind of an interesting combination between the Azir and the Vladimir right here because they really operate at very different ranges. You can't get much poke off with this team composition. At the same time, you want to run into them. Like, these are 2 completely different things. So I actually feel like Bing might be pressured to play very aggressively. And on the other side, with the first rotation lockdown, we are looking at a lack of physical damage junglers for FPX. I fully expect Snake to just take down the Lee Sin, and I'm not sure what other junglers FPX are really going to pick up now.
We'll certainly find out if Pepper has got some more champions in his repertoire that he can pull out here, but we're looking at the AD carries from FPX. LWX has shown he's quite happy with that Tristana. There's the Sejuani banned away from Pepper, so he's going to have to dig a little bit deeper. And then on the other side, Snake, they're looking for the same thing. Crystal and Hudie, again, saving those later picks for that bottom lane. We'll see how this works out.
And this time they finally have the last pick on the support, and they also have the opportunity to pick up whatever AD carry they want first. So I think this is going to give them a bit more flexibility in the bot lane. This is not something that Snake's bot lanes typically do. On the red side, they typically just go for the Kalista or the Azir if it's up. And as we see right now, banning out the last remaining physical jungler there in the Lee Sin. And this is just going to throw FPX composition off. They're not going to have very good skirmishes in the top side of the map when it comes to mid-game. Once that Gangplank does get a Hex Drinker, or the Kha'Zix does opt for a Hex Drinker, it's really difficult to skirmish them.
Alrighty, Snake. Game 3 in your inaugural match in your home stadium.
No.
You can hear the crowd, but he's just doing it to try to please them.
Yeah, that's the smart pick.
Xayah.
Don't go for the Draven. Don't go for the Draven. This pick is good because it, again, punishes teams that need to run into them, and that's exactly what Vladimir is. So they have a theme set up right here. It's a very difficult composition to run into, but FPX, they're gonna take that challenge straight on.
Ooh, my breath catches in my throat as I see LWX step forward, going to try to match Crystal's performance in Game 2. Rek'Sai now locked in for Pepper, and with Rakan open, we could be seeing the duo in the bottom lane. It's locked in. Clement, we have our compositions. What a quick series of events that just happened.
Yeah, so this is the first time that I feel Snake is actually going to have a stronger bot lane in the series. Rakan Xayah picked up in the same rotation right here. And also for FPX, I actually feel like the Rek'Sai into Azir combo is one of the weaker mid-early game combos. It's kind of difficult to play out. However, what the Rek'Sai does do very well is that it is a counter into the Kha'Zix. The Kha'Zix cannot, even if he upgrades his, chooses to evolve into the adaptive cloaking, he'll still be seen by the Rek'Sai through her radar senses. So that's a good counter pick, and also fills out the physical position. That Rek'Sai pick kind of just slipped my mind and really kind of saved the draft for FPX.
I mean, Rek'Sai always seems to slip everyone's mind until she's in your game knocking you up, and you're like, why is this a thing that exists on such short cooldown? But now we've got our final compositions. We're going to have to keep an eye on how this jungle matchup works out, because Pepper has been doing such a great job of tracking SofM throughout this series, trying to keep it down, and now he's got that tremor sense to try to play around it. But we know SofM is comfortable with Rek'Sai. He's familiar with how it works. And the coaches shake hands for the final time today, as we are ready to close out the first best of 3 in Chongqing.
The only best of 3 we have so far. So hyped to cast with you, Dom, the first one.
It's going pretty good, Clement. And now with these compositions, the players are on stage. It is do or die time. The fans are, we're about to hear them. I'm excited to see which of the two groups are louder, because while there certainly are many more fans of Snake, those representing FPX have also been very vocal in this series.
Exactly. So if we look down the compositions right here, I actually feel like both at the top and mid, they're going to be pretty passive for much of the early to mid game. Snake, they're probably going to have another topside start, and we're going to see a lot of action in the bot lane. Crystal and Hudie, they're definitely going to try to push that advantage. You know, when you get the W on the Storm Feathers, you automatically win that lane. Wow.
Quite some cheers. The Snake fans representing quite loudly, but here's
Level 1
the
cheese.
invade. LWX drops a ward, tumbles away. Level 1 tumble, and the ward is still standing. 5 members of Snake, and they don't get anything just yet, but LWX has got to back off.
Yeah, if Snake managed to trade the map northwest to southeast, then that's in their advantage, because they can consistently push that bot lane in and continue to punish the Vayne pick.
There's the recall from Flandre on top of a ward. They can see Guoguo and SofM were making their way back. That's a quick tongue lash for just a bit of harass out of Crisp. Not able to find anything though, and after the attempted excitement from Snake, looks like we're going to be seeing standard laning phase. Everyone going in with all their summoners. Even footing here in this Game 3.
Yeah, SofM doesn't really have a choice to start topside anymore. That wraparound gank didn't really work, so he's going to have to go for the more traditional standard start, just go bot, go for your isolated targets and move topside.
Meanwhile, Pepper, he starts red, heading with that, spotted by that ward, heading towards the top side. And there's SofM, as you were talking about, going straight for the Gromp. Excellent clear on Kha'Zix. The taste there, fear for some bonus damage. And Pepper going straight buff to buff here.
Yeah, he's definitely worried that the Kha'Zix might try to invade him early. That is a thing that Kha'Zix kit can allow him to do. And I just want to talk a little bit about this Rek'Sai pick. It's really unique for the fact that it's one of the few junglers that does not bring Electrocute. Actually, on most of the Rek'Sais we've seen, it's been press the attack. You knock them up, you get Queen's Wrath 3 times, and then you chomp down on them, and that gets additional damage. And usually your rotation hurts so much that with the Triumph, with the press the attack, you're doing 21% extra damage on that last E right there. So that's kind of the way that we've seen most of. Oh, but all right. He brought Electrocute.
Yeah, Pepper, he's thinking of getting some action here. He tunnels in, looks for 1 and 2, and denies SofM his own jungle. The ward placed by Bing earlier at the cost of his own health is allowing Pepper to be aggressive here. So this is the communication, this is the teamwork that we want to see out of this new team, FPX.
Yeah, we see Bing and Pepper having really good coordination. Bing slanting onto the left side of the ramp. Is he going to finish that teleport?
Wow. That's a bit of a wasted summoner spell. Taking teleport to try to get back in, but Pepper just says, do it. I dare you.
Yeah, that's actually a huge...
Ooh, Gimgoon actually gets under the barrel. That's the nullifying orb. He's got to wait out the timer, the auto attack, plus minions attacking. Gimgoon
still has heal, so Flandre basically has to back off here. There's no way that he actually wins that 1v1 trade.
Oh, but SofM on this side of the map sneaks around behind him and just heads on over to the Gromp, which has already been cleared by Pepper, who now heads on over to the Wolf camp. So still, this is a very tense game. You can see how closely these two teams are trying to jockey for position.
Yeah, there's some really interesting choices here. Actually, Gimgoon not going for Unsealed Spellbook, going for the Kleptomancy build. I have seen this build a couple of times, and you go this build if you're very confident you can get a lot of auto attacks down.
Oh, leaps onto him instead of going from under. I've never seen a Rek'Sai attack from that direction. There's the Electrocute damage, a knockup, plus the red buff, and Pepper's forced to take a tunnel to safety. Kha'Zix still does some good damage, even on a level down. Yeah, double knockup onto Crisp. He's on the wrong side of things. True Silver Bolts procs just a bit of damage, and Crystal tries to harass with the Blade Caller.
Yep, not able to push this lane fully in. A lot of action actually happening on the top side of the map. I think this is mainly in Snake's favor. They did go for that bot lane 5-man invade just to clear out that side of the map. Make sure everyone goes to the top side. And so far they've got this lane isolated pretty well, but haven't been able to take that much advantage.
Ooh, flash from Crystal to avoid being condemned against the wall. It's a very early time to blow that summoner spell. Perhaps the pressure of the situation, the weight of the arena on their shoulders.
Yeah. So
or just playing it safe, you know, that's also an option.
Yeah, he definitely, if he got condemned into the wall here, that condemn will do double damage, and it would be quite possible for him to just die right there. So I think Crystal made it kind of a safe play. But I'm actually a little bit surprised that they're not able to get more out of this lane at this point. This is a very strong lane just because your level 1 is so powerful. You get that spell, your W, on 2 people at the same time. But later in the game, Vayne actually has an easy time dodging most of your skill shots. If you fire your double daggers at you, she can tumble that fairly easily. So this is not going well for Xayah.
Yeah, Pepper, he's actually tanking both the Raptors and SofM. That's the Electrocute damage. And even Bing pushing up is allowing this play to happen, denying gold and experience to SofM. FPX are trying to break apart Snake's composition. Malzahar, he's level 6. He flashes in immediately. Pepper follows with a flash of his own. It's very low health on Guoguo. He doesn't have enough mana either, and he finally uses the Nether Grasp, turns it around. Pepper with the knockup. First blood onto Bing. SofM flashes away, but Bing with a double kill. And Guoguo shaken in his chair.
Yeah, that did look like Guoguo didn't have enough mana. He had to wait for a while for him to actually be able to cast the Nether Grasp. And we can see how smart this combination from Bing and Pepper is. So Bing has the push there, and they're constantly contesting every single Raptors when it comes up. manages to chunk SofM first and then go on Guoguo, who doesn't really have the mana to fight there.
And this is the exact same strategy that we saw in game number 1. Pepper tracking SofM, denying the Kha'Zix Malzahar composition, and now they're falling prey to it again. And Pepper, he's looking to make that 2-0 Azir into a 3-0 Azir.
Yeah, that strong point I felt that Snake might have had in the mid lane evaporating straight before my eyes. Misses the teleport and loses the 2v2 right now. I feel like this Malzahar, if we don't count that ultimate, he might need to wait another 10 minutes.
Very well could be. Still though, he's still got the other lanes. Crystal holding on to the minion wave, denying experience, or excuse me, LWX. While Crystal and Hudie get their own recall. BF Sword and the upgraded Targons. Looks like we're seeing SofM actually taking second blue here.
Yep.
As Cannon Barrage is used to push the wave here.
This is not a very good lane for Gangplank to be in. Actually, later on, Vladimir kind of takes over this lane. The Gangplank can't really trade very efficiently with him, and it sort of becomes this slow push lane, split push lane. But what Gangplank can do is he can influence the other parts of the map slightly better than the Vladimir can. So let's see if they can find their fights in the bot lane and try to snowball off that. So this is not looking very good for Snake right now.
I think that side lane effectiveness you were talking about for Gimgoon might perhaps be hampered a bit by the heal summoner spell and the lack of teleport taking Kleptomancy. So he doesn't have Unsealed Spellbook. He's stuck with Flash Heal for the duration of this game. So that means he has to be with his team or close to his team
I'm actually
at
not
all
sure
times.
Yes, Kleptomancy, because I haven't seen a single item pop for him. So either he's clicking those things really fast or
immediately consuming.
Yeah, like he doesn't want to wait for those for those pots of gold to show up.
Yeah, still 8.1, very recent. We're still trying to work out a couple of bugs in the game, so we'll see. We'll keep an eye later on. If we see Vlad teleport, we'll know what's up.
Exactly.
But until then, he's just going to continue trading back and forth with Flandre. 13 CS ahead, though Flandre happy with that because as Gangplank, he will be able to get just a bit extra gold.
All right, so it's definitely Unsealed Spellbook. He has teleport.
Oh, he has teleport now. There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
And we see Bing now moving down. He's unspotted at this position.
Do you reckon it was just swapped? Because Gangplank had Unsealed Spellbook on the other side when we saw it earlier. It was just flipped 50-50, I think.
All right, that makes sense. That makes sense.
It could be. I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably just like a small mistake.
But go ahead. You were just talking about Bing.
Yeah. So he's leveraging his mid lane push priority very well right now. We can see 2-0-0, so he's going to be able to constantly push in this lane. And it's all about how much you can bring that advantage into your own side lane. So you saw Bing, he just moved down to the Dragon Pit, and instantly Crystal and Hudie had to back out of their lanes. They didn't want to pressure that anymore. And let's just see how FPX kind of leverage that. I feel like they need to go into SofM's jungle at this point, do what they did in the top side around the Raptors, but try to do it on the blue side, and see if they can just wrap around down and try to get like try to get Vayne going in the game.
Anything to get LWX snowballing. The more kills on a Vayne, the better, unless the Vayne's on the enemy team. And now, Bing and Pepper, looks like they're taking your advice, Clement, trying to look for an opening, but it's so defensive. Crystal and Hudie are just backing away the moment they are out of vision. Though they were spotted by a ward that was placed a bit earlier by Guoguo or SofM to keep themselves safe.
Yeah, and a cheeky little play here from Chris and LWX, hiding in the bush, pretending that they're backing, and coming back out again, but they're actually sitting on a ward, so that didn't pan out for them.
Just managing to keep themselves even in lane as Guoguo, even with that kill, is trying to hang out in lane. Even the Boots of Lucidity for cooldown. Guoguo wants to use his ultimate as much as he can, but he is just not getting an opportunity to.
Yeah, he's getting pushed in way too hard. He's already expended all of his minion dematerializers and still cannot get that lane to push into his favor.
Oh, here's Pepper. He's managed to make his way down to the bottom lane, just tags onto Hudie. But Crystal holds his ground. They know that they've got half health on LWX, a good chunk of damage onto Crisp. As SofM gets chunked by the Comet of Bing. Still, they don't even feel safe clearing this ward here as Pepper shows up and somehow manages to pop up underneath SofM. That's the Nether Grasp. That's going to be the Abyssal Voyage to bring Pepper towards the fight as best they can. Meanwhile, LWX died in the bottom lane, left behind by his support. Bit of miscommunication from FPX.
Yeah, that was a really smart bait from Snake. So you fight mid, you get Chris to leave his lane, and then you instantly battle dance onto him.
And in and out, the grand entrance and quickness. Now immediately we're popping right back into live. Knockup denies Pepper. He is devoured by Crisp, who runs forward with his low health ally. Gimgoon teleporting from behind. Snare and an additional stun onto Hudie. They're trying to get this kill over correctly, giving a double kill to Gimgoon in the top lane. That's 2 kills on Gimgoon and 2 kills on Bing. But both of those lanes are empty right now.
Yeah, that's a really frightening prospect. Flandre also does not have his cannon barrage, so they're actually going to get the first tower here.
Pepper, Crisp, and trying to finish off that turret. LWX showing down there as well. Flandre doing as much damage as he can, but he just doesn't have enough time to break it out. And still, mid is defended. Top is going to continue being pushed. But like you said, first brick, FPX.
Yeah, they had a 3-man advantage right there. So I think FPX is pretty set into the middle-late stages of the game, where they have a lot of damage to dish out in the team fights. The problem from them is that their composition makes it kind of hard for them to go in unscathed. It's really going to be about how Gimgoon is going to enter the battlefield and how LWX can follow him inside. Because if they get hit by barrels while they're going for their engages, get caught by Crystal's Featherstorm, then it's going to make those engages very difficult, but they do have the damage to finish the team fight very cleanly once they do get it.
Finding that right position is going to be so important. A lot of that will be up to Crisp and Pepper to maintain vision so that they can find the right opportunity.
Yeah, I think
that
at
fight.
this point, the Abyssal Voyage into Gimgoon just popping out of a Tahm Kench is terrifying into the backline. I'm not actually sure how Snake can deal with that.
Well, we're certainly going to find out if they can come up with something. Perhaps Hudie holding on to his engage to disengage? Use it backwards to get out?
It could be a possibility.
Yeah, but look at this. Guoguo and SofM rushing down bottom. They're clearing out the control ward. Crisp and LWX trying to defend. Their turret is very low health. But Crystal doesn't risk it. He pulls back, allowing FPX to hold on to this wave here. Gimgoon even running down towards the mid lane. There it is. That's the correct runes. Unsealed spellbook.
Yep.
Racing forward with Bing. Mid is actually undefended as they spotted Guoguo out of position. And FPX just finding Snake unawares and taking another turret.
That was a great move from Bing right there. I feel like Bing really was the MVP of that move. So he faked going bottom, and Snake backed off because they thought Azir was coming. But all the time, he actually only went halfway, and then he went back to the mid lane with Vladimir, who had push priority in the top lane, and instantly took down that mid tower. So that was basically a 1-for-nothing trade.
Yeah, Bing has been very creative with his movements throughout this entire series, effectively. The Rise, Realm Warps to get onto Baron, to get behind Snake. And now, even just positioning around the map is allowing them to take a turret, and now this Ocean Dragon. 14.5 minutes in. Dragon secured by FPX.
I'm seriously impressed by these math moves. Like, Snake, even though they got the bot turret, it was on less than 100 health.
Oh, yeah.
It was going to fall
gonna
down
happen
to the
eventually,
mid
yeah.
anyways. Yeah, so FPX, 2 free objectives.
Once again, the 2-for-1 trades here working out quite in favor. 2,000 gold ahead, 14 minutes in. Now we're starting to see a bit more of an accelerated pace. Snake swap their duo to the top half of the map. Essence Reaver completed for Crystal, so he can finally chuck out as many feathers as he wants. Still no completed item for LWX. That Vayne takes a long time to get going, and he's already 20 CS behind Crystal.
Yeah, that lane wasn't supposed to go very well. He died underneath the turret once, got denied that wave. The main thing that for FPX right now is I feel like their Gimgoon, their Vladimir, can start going into split push mode against the Gangplank. I don't feel like the Gangplank can do anything to him in lane anymore, so they can leverage that pressure quite well.
We actually see Snake now pushing up here in the mid lane. They managed to find Bing before he gets back, and the turret is broken down, so Snake are still making moves of their own. They're actually up in turrets, though still down in gold.
That is true. Kind of a weird situation we have right now. Mainly stemming from Gangplank, I guess.
Yeah, still the kills from Gimgoon and Bing, and the assists onto Pepper probably provide quite a bit. plus 20 CS lead from Bing, as Crisp is going to start off the Rift Herald here. But 16 minutes in, we're seeing a much slower paced game than in Game 1 or Game 2. Neither of the teams really seem to want to rush any early excitement. Instead, just trying to take conventional macro movements.
Yep.
I can't believe it. Is this still the LPL?
This is still the LPL.
Really?
We're just
All right.
watching like a smart team play, and a lot of times smart teams will play kind of slowish, just drag the game out. So what FPX is basically waiting for is for Vladimir to get big enough that they can just ship him in with Crisp, and so you have like a huge threat behind enemy lines, and then you have LWX running straight for you in your face. So that creates a situation where I don't feel like Snake can probably set up for. Flandre is only going to get 3 barrels in one team fight, so he's either putting them forward or he's putting them back. He can't do both at the same time. And for Crystal, that's kind of the same thing as well. You can only pull your feathers one direction. So once they get Vladimir fed enough, I feel like they can just execute that game plan. Right now, it's all just stalling, getting people farmed.
Yeah, they're well on their way. Gimgoon just ticks over to level 12, finished Leandri's and the Frost Queen's claim, or Spooky Ghosts, as I like to call them. Pepper will activate Rift Herald. It's now spotted and pinged away. Wave clear or no, Crystal, he's going to have to worry about that big purple void creature slamming on in. Boom, big damage. And LWX steps forward to try to finish the job. With Pepper there, despite the snare, they will be able to break it down. Now 3-3 in turrets, still close to 2k gold for FPX.
Yeah, this is getting pretty awkward. You could see Snake having 3 people here, still could not defend. So it was a 3v3 in the top side, but with that Herald threat, just couldn't do anything with it.
Teleport and Cannon Barrage ready for Flandre, but they're holding it for, you've got to imagine something a little bit bigger, a little bit more important than defending just a top tier 1.
I feel like Flandre is just in a very awkward position right now. He's alone across the river. He can't really fight the Vladimir at this point. He's not defending anything either. And FPX are just making them pay for it.
Yeah. You can see he's got vision with some help from SofM. They've got a clear ward line towards that bottom half of the map. But now that he sees his wave is pushed up a bit too far, he sees Hudie and Bing missing from that mid lane, decides to pull it back, play it safe. And like you said, FPX, well aware of this, are just making decisive calls. Take the turret, siege the lane, back away, look for the pick.
Well, the thing about Gangplank is that you could technically still win any game, so let's see how the team
once
fights
it goes
pan
long
out.
enough, yeah. Once your barrels do enough damage, it doesn't really matter. But 75 seconds until that Baron spawns, 2 minutes until the Ocean Dragon is up. Not ideal, but the more Ocean Dragons, the more regeneration. That's going to make Vlad and Azir happy whenever they set up for sieges.
Yep, and I feel like Guoguo is going to need to be the hero for Snake right now. He's going to have to keep his eyes on the Vladimir, try to pin him down and focus him. Or else this is a very good composition for Gimgoon. All 5 targets are pretty low health. None of them are tanky targets. You can get a lot of health back from your R and your spells. So, yeah, I feel like Snake kind of need to force something, or they're just, if they go to the late game, they're kind of just betting on Gangplank getting a Miracle Barrel.
That seems like a bit of a scary bet, though, considering it is Snake. And while they have been performing well in the Demacia Cup in their team fights, and even in the past few games in their late games, to me, I still see Snake as the 15-20 minute. We have a very strong early game, but our late game kind of tapers off. And Guoguo, like you said, I'm keeping my eyes on him to see if he can find the opportunity in these fights to tear FPX apart.
Yeah, and this Ocean Drake for Snake is actually a bit unfortunate. They would have liked to set up around Drake. If it was an Infernal Drake, pull FPX in, try to get them with the barrels, try to get them with Malzahar from out of vision. But they're just completely ignoring it, and FPX go directly for Baron.
Ooh, big cannon barrage. Pepper very low health has got to disengage as FPX going to try to sneak the Baron, but forced to turn away.
Yeah, that was a bit ambitious from FPX right there. They did have the radar from Pepper, but still, it's 20 minutes in the game.
Yeah, it's a little ambitious to try to take it that early on, though now we can see Snake using that opportunity, knowing that they had Pepper chunked out, quickly just turn over towards the Ocean Dragon. 1-to-1 in Dragons, both Ocean, and looks like the third one is also going to be an Ocean Dragon.
Well, that's rather unfortunate. That really, so a lot of times, like, when we look at Drakes, we think about what Drake there are and how important there are. A lot of Drakes are really not that important for certain team compositions. For instance, FPX, they're all going in at once and they're going to search for a team fight victory. They're not really a siege team. So Ocean Drake doesn't matter to them. And because of that, Snake is not going to get their team fights in the bottom side of the map. So it's a bit unfortunate for Snake, but these things do kind of happen.
We can see the change-up, though. By keeping Hudie and Crystal on that top half of the map, they're now ready to fight around the Baron instead. But I feel like that's a much riskier game to play, because if you lose a fight, FPX are going to set their eyes on the Purple Worm.
Yep, so basically, if you don't pick off someone when Crisp comes in, then FPX will likely clean this up and the Baron as well. But I still feel like Snake making a stand here is probably the best situation they can get FPX into. It's always very difficult to fight around these river edges because there's a lot of patches where you don't have vision, where it could be stocked full of explosive barrels. So
yeah. Well, right now, FPX, they're sticking to the vision that they have, actually dropping a turret in the mid lane after quickly pushing it in, and now heading towards the Baron to try to clear this out. So that's going to passively push for them for the next few minutes, or at least until it does get cleared out. But how are FPX going to try to utilize this here? Or immediately engaging onto the Baron. Again, the Cannon Barrage on cooldown. And now they just need to wait this out.
We can see Hudie trying to find a good flanking position. If he does manage to catch Vayne out, they can definitely one-shot him with SofM.
Meanwhile, Flandre shoving bottom. He's able to get onto the tier 2. Gimgoon's on his way to try to deal with it. Teleport available for both of these top laners, but not getting an opportunity to use it, as that's actually some very good damage. Spooky Ghosts gonna get just a bit of a slow onto Flandre, who simply pops an orange, says it's all cool, and heads out. And still, FPX playing around the Baron. They want to try to force these team fights, but with Flandre using that Cannon Barrage, they can't get a chance.
They know that the Cannon Barrage is now off cooldown, so they're going to try their hand at this again. Just go over there, set up for vision. What they may be looking for is also a pick where Crisp can just send someone behind enemy lines and try to make a pick that way. When you have the Rek'Sai, it is very clever to play around this area because you can see enemy movements as they come in. However, I don't think they're getting much out of this either. At the same time, I kind of feel like FPX does have the scaling advantage, so they're probably they're kind of fine as well, just like doing this over and over, so everything just goes out to late game.
Still, FPX just continuing to catch their wave, scale up more and more, get that Vayne and Azir bigger and bigger. You can see the gold on your screen. It's only about 1,000 gold advantage for Flandre, but Bing, he's sitting on about 1,000 gold advantage for Guoguo. So that brings us to dead even, 42k to 42k between FPX and Snake.
Yeah, this is getting very scary for Snake. If you look at FPX composition, they have 3 people on their team that can wipe the entire enemy team. Like, they can 1v5. They have enough damage to go through the entire enemy lineup. So when team fights do appear, Snake really has to look for those picks. Gimgoon coming in from behind.
Oh, he spotted out SofM. Tides of Blood doesn't quite get the slow, and Spooky Ghosts turn around and miss it, but that was teleport utilized. They use it to catch vision, and bottom lane is going to be nice and slow, pushing in. Flandre's in mid, and they turn onto the Baron. FPX are tired of waiting. Cannon Barrage used once again, but this time Crystal has stepped up. There's the engage. Gimgoon steps forward. He manages to get the Hemoplague, but he's pulled away from the Devourers. They killed Hudie. Flandre kiting away as best he can. That's the Abyssal Voyage coming up behind them, and he will be dropped right on in. Flandre is going to kill Crisp as Gimgoon manages to get the Zonyas. They kill SofM in the back line, and FPX, they've won the fight.
Yeah, 1v3 victory for FPX right there. Hudie went in, but he didn't get to finish off Pepper, and he actually took a couple Baron shots. If I'm not mistaken, the last shot was actually taken by Baron right there, taking him out at the early start of the game. And from then on, I don't feel like there was enough threat on FPX's carries.
Yeah, Crystal steps forward to try to save it. He managed to get one kill. Guoguo with the Malefic Visions ticking away onto Gimgoon. He goes low, but heals himself back up. Meanwhile, LWX with the golden auto locks down the kill. Unofficial ace for FPX, and they take the Baron.
There's just too much damage on that composition. Let's watch this again. Hudie goes in, doesn't manage to get the Pepper, and we can see even though Vladimir was under Nethergrass, he was able to come out with Crisp. This is the Crisp duo we're talking about, sending Vladimir back into enemy lines right there. SofM getting caught out on the bottom side of the map. And from then on, when you have Gimgoon this fed and in the side lanes for so long, your carries just can't fight against it. Your AD carries are very fearful of this Vampire.
And Gimgoon, level 15 now, 3-0-3. He is getting bigger and bigger. Now finished off that Xayah's. And while the Gangplank is doing just as much damage, he doesn't have anywhere near the sustain of Gimgoon on that Vladimir. The longer the fight goes, the better it looks for FPX.
Yeah, when Flandre is in the fight, he's really looking to pick off one target. They really need to go Hudie, Flandre, bam, and just kill someone. Or else it's the damage difference between Vladimir and an extended 30-second fight and Gangplank, who might have 2 barrel chains, it's night and day.
Once again, LWX steps forward for the tier 2 with a Baroned up cannon minion firing away. He's finally able to clear it down. Bing even showing up from the side to steal away the blue buff as FPX finally using this Baron buff to start to break open the shell that Snake have built around themselves to get towards those inhibitors, to get towards that Nexus.
Still, FPX will have a very hard time sieging onto the high ground of Snake, so I feel like Snake can actually drag it past this Baron buff and see what they can do from there.
They've spotted SofM on the side. Once again, LWX and Bing lead the charge, bringing the wave forward. Hudie even steps forward just to push Bing back. You've got to respect the quickness grand entrance. And a single Q barrel from Flandre to push the wave before heading back to his team. He wants to try to keep it safe. SofM, ever the selfish jungler, is stealing away FPX's own jungle creeps while his tier 2 is being sieged. Not sure if worth, but he's going to have to make it so. And still, FPX not seeing SofM respect it. They just move forward and back. Never mind, Gimgoon goes in. He calls my bluff, forces the fight. Crystal with the Xayah, the stopwatch backs away. Flandre in the front line. He's low, and he will go down to the auto from LWX. Finally, SofM joins the fight. They managed to kill Pepper in the back, but that's 1 for 1, and still Baron for another 50 seconds.
I actually felt like if SofM was there in that fight, they probably would have won that.
Well, there you go. Calling him out, Clement. And now the tier 2 is broken down. There's another Ocean Dragon back on the map. Immediately, Abyssal Voyage to get his team over towards it. And FPX are opening their advantage. 3,500 gold. And slowly but surely, they are starting to become something that Snake cannot dismantle.
Yeah, we could see Gimgoon going in there with no hesitation. He really has, the pool is 2 seconds, and then you have the Xayah's 2.5 seconds. He has so much time to regain his cooldowns and heal himself back on. Really no fear going into that engage. And they did do it at a very good timing when SofM was trying to funnel back from the opponent's jungle. I will say that I expected different evolves from SofM. In this situation where he's trying to prevent the enemy team from walking into him, I thought he would have evolved the spiked racks, so you can get the slow. It's a fan-sized slow, and it's 40%, so that's very good at stopping enemy engages.
Well, when your Gimgoon flash ult Tides of Blood, I don't know that the Void Spikes are really going to slow him down.
They will slow everyone behind.
Yeah, of course, of course.
So actually kind of a weird choice there. He might just be pushing his luck and trying to find those solo assassin kills elsewhere on the map.
Well, 0-3 right now, not able to find too many in this game. And 29.5 minutes in. LWX, he's got his 3 items and another BF sword. Bing, he's finished off his QSS with another 3 items of his own. Next Dragon's Mountain, Baron's coming up in a few minutes, and while the game has generally calmed down in these next few moments, I think we can expect an explosive finish later on.
Yeah, it's just hard to see how Snake is going to win these team fights, even if they're close to killing a carry. Technically, Crisp could devour them and get them out of harm's way as well. The easiest person to probably kill right now is LWX, so Flandre needs to keep his eyes peeled for that. I feel like that's the only way Snake actually wins a team fight. Probably when FPX is sieging, and then they get a barrel onto LWX. But other than that, it's going to be very difficult to contest their own jungle.
You can see with Bing and the rest of FPX stepping forward, they take the red buff and quickly evacuate. Now pushing up towards the mid lane, perhaps trying to catch FPX out of position, but they rotate back. They don't allow themselves to give anything up on the map. And SofM, ever the sneaky jungler, he's taking every single thing that isn't nailed down to try to keep his team in this, but will it be enough? Baron is up in 90 seconds.
Oh, and we see now that Vayne has just popped her Guardian Angels. Made that purchase, sorry. So These team fights are just going to get harder and harder.
Yeah, now you have to kill Vayne twice.
Yeah, so
Even
you
more
have
scary.
Tahm Kench, you have Guardian Angels on Pepper and LWX. Vladimir is just hard to kill to begin with. And then you have Azir with Quicksilver Sash.
Perhaps a bit of hesitation from Snake here in this Game 3. Ever the team never won a title, never really made it to Worlds. They've tried so hard. They've come so close so many times, even going all the way to the finals of the Demacia Cup, only to drop down. And now, here at the inaugural match of their own stadium in Chongqing, they find themselves on the verge of what could be defeat if FPX are allowed to continue playing like this.
I just feel like Snake don't know how to proceed in the game anymore, and frankly, I can't really give them a good answer. They're kind of stuck in their base at this point. You can see SofM just trying to push out everywhere. You can escape through the jungle quite easily. But other than that, they don't have much that can split apart FPX's composition and give them those picks that they need.
Yeah, I mean, you've heard how vocal the fans have been trying to support them. Perhaps that can be the encouragement that they need to break FPX apart, but tragically, fan votes do not affect the game itself.
Yeah, Snake has picked a composition with a lot of very fragile characters into a knife fight against a lot of champions that are immortal. So, I really don't see how they win it.
Well, here we go, Clement. Baron started on spawn. There goes the cannon barrage. Flandre in the front. Crystal along with Hudie on the side. Gimgoon is in the back. He's managed to find the flank. That's the Nethergrass.
They
He's
take
dead.
Gimgoon down.
Gimgoon is gone. That's going to be 5 versus 4. A huge pick for Snake. Pepper very low, but LWX tumbles forward. He gets the auto attack and finds the kill. Look at how much he's healing, and the Abyssal Voyage. He flashes away from the knockup and continues to chase. Going to get the GA popped on the far side, but Bing with a big knockup tries to lock down some more kills. SofM hunting for the assassination, but so far it's 2 for 3, about to be 4 if Flandre gets caught, but he has nowhere to go. The full recall, and Pepper looking for the kill on his own. He will find it. Void Rush locks it down. 4 members of Snake are dead.
Wow, so Snake got the perfect start to the fight they were looking for. They took down the most fed carry on the enemy team, and still they weren't able to finish up. There was too much damage coming from LWX because Bing almost didn't get into the fight early enough. It was mostly just LWX dishing out damage, and they couldn't stand it.
I mean, LWX tumbling forward into 5 people to get a kill. Just to trade his GA. You can't really see that. Well, then again, considering Game 2, perhaps you might be able to see that coming. As LWX, he's solo right now. SofM is on the hunt. He leaps forward, getting good damage. The tumble. Is there going to be a condemn? He does get the condemn, but Flash. SofM assassinates LWX. And ladies and gentlemen, the Baron is still on the board, and now Vayne is missing for FPX.
And Flandre is going to come back on the map faster than the Vayne should. This should allow them to set up on Baron, so we could see Snake drag this game further. They do want to make a play when none of these GAs are still up and try to see if they can turn the tides.
It's the evolved Void Spikes you were talking about. Finally going to get level 16 for SofM. And still that window that Snake had, in which they had a brief numbers advantage, is slowly ticking away. 16 seconds before LWX is back up. And already you can see FPX are well aware of the fact that they're missing their AD carry. They've got tons of vision around the Baron. They know there's a chance Snake could try something, and that's exactly what Snake are doing.
They still have the cannon barrage so they can stop the enemy team from coming in.
Hudie pops the quickness. He tries to get Gimgoon again. The Nethergrasp. He goes solo but drops into the pool. The Baron is picked up by Snake, but Gimgoon kills Flandre. Crystal flashes over the wall to escape. And that's going to be what appears to be the Abyssal Voyage denied by some damage.
By Malzahar.
And just like that, Snake, they get it, and they are able to escape Void Rush. SofM is eating some damage, but he leaps away after the slow, and that is Baron picked up by Snake. They are not out of this just yet.
Great decisive play from Snake right there. Know that they have the timing advantage over LWX. Instantly goes in, takes the Baron, and also great for those Voidlings by Guoguo that stopped the Abyssal Voyage from cutting off their retreat, and they're able to go back to base and restock up.
Oh, that's a lot of damage. Hudie dies to
instantly.
Crisp. And now they continue sieging. It's 3 versus 5. Baron buff or not, that's not going to protect these turrets. That's not going to protect their own health bars. LWX once again tumbles forward, and off of that pick is able to take an inhibitor. Now Snake have got 2.5 minutes to make this Baron worth it.
or it's just going to be a pure defend. Now, that was a really good read from LWX there. Found the condemn onto Hudie while he was trying to set up for a possible flank. Nailed him to the wall and basically killed him instantly.
Now SofM turning towards this Mountain Dragon, trying to get everything for his team. He's 5,000 gold down along with the rest of Snake. And like you said, Clement, this might just be a defensive Baron here, at least until they get their whole team back up and alive. Because right now, FPX, they are so decisive. How can you read these plays in advance if FPX don't even know what they're doing?
Definitely, that was a really good tumble from LWX. You're just thinking to yourself, you know, he's LWX, he does that all the time, he's really aggressive. But he actually caught you by the edge of his eye, and he saw you on that wall.
That 1 inch of vision. And he's able to find it, yeah, finding that kill now. 36 and a half minutes in, going on 37. We're starting to see even more items completed. Is that a 6-item Vayne? I believe that's a 6-item Vayne.
Yes, and we're fighting a 5-item Xayah, I believe. I think that's Targon's brace still on her, so she's still not dishing out that much damage at this point.
And now FPX once again pushing into Snake. They feel like they've got momentum here. It certainly shows in the gold count and the kills, but it's up to Snake to put an end to that.
I will say that both of these Gimgoon engages have not worked out as well as FPX would have hoped. He got focused down very early. So if Snake can get that to happen again, they might have a chance, but it's going to be a tough call. If FPX can just play this slow, wait for the minions to come in, they should have no problem taking this down.
I don't know that that's in their vocabulary. They immediately rush it down. Gimgoon steps forward with an early Hemo Plague. Redemption to try to get some health back, but that's going to be the final inhibitor turret. The middle inhibitor is just now going to be respawning. And actually, no, they've still got super minions pushing in. They could try to end the game right here, Snake. It is do or die time. Backs against the wall. Home crowd cheering you on. Crystal takes to the skies, but he's only able to clear a few minions.
Yeah, we really need to watch Hudie. He's the only person that can get a good engage off in this scenario. Snake's composition is not very good at doing those engages. Their only hope is on Hudie's shoulders right now. Let's see if he can get maybe LWX, maybe Bing.
He keeps stepping forward. 1 Nexus turret down. The sand in the hourglass is growing ever thinner, and LWX steps forward with an assassination onto Guoguo. It's 4 auto attacks. This is Snake forcing the fight. That's 4-man knockup. I have never seen so many, and now they're continuing to chase SofM on the far side. It is not enough. Spectacular or no, FPX have got too much momentum, and like sand in the hourglass, it shatters along with Snake's chances, and they finish it off with a quadra kill. Can this be the first pentakill of 2018?
Woo!
It is, ladies and gentlemen. FPX are victorious in Chongqing.
Wow, that was a thriller to watch right there. For me, a lot of the problems really stem from the ban pick phase. I feel like if Snake were going to take Kha'Zix and Malzahar on the first rotation like they did in Game 1, they should expect it to work the same way it did in Game 1, and that did not pan out for them. They got constantly pushed in by the Azir, and I felt like it was a really lackluster effort from Snake. They really didn't have many points in the game where they could push their advantages, and FPX just slowly edged out their advantages and closed out the game.
And by continuing to press their composition, playing that same style, the quick and decisive plays. Just before the game ended, you said if they just waited slowly, siege this minion or inhibitor for a few waves, and they immediately tumble forward and start sieging the turret. You can see it's not handshakes for these guys. It is hugs down the line. As, oh man, Yeon, he's given a lot of words. And the rest of FPX will make their way back to their booths with some smiles and relief. The first winners here in Chongqing. And while the fans were significantly outnumbered in the arena, their enthusiasm was not.
Yeah, we can definitely still hear the Chongqing fans cheering them on, showing their appreciation for this wonderful series and our first pentakill of LPL.
And now returning to their booths, we get to see FPX take a sigh of relief as their week 1 has come to an end, but ours certainly has not. We've now got Indiana Frostcure and Black here to help us break down what happened. What is that gold graph?
That's a banger.
That's
This
a banger. That's what we call those? All right.
Yeah. This is well, probably one of my favorite series. I think for week 1, this is definitely right. I know that
agree.
we still have Saturday and Sunday to play out, but this was super exciting. Crazy plays on both sides, balls to the wall, and I loved every second of it.
Absolutely. Pedal to the metal. And just look at how steeply that gold graph oscillated over the course of that game. I mean, it did feel like Snake were behind, but they were still taking fights. They were still trying to find their advantages. And it seems like they had so many opportunities, killing Gimgoon and then taking a 5v4 and still losing it.
But again, I still feel, yes, huge credit to Snake's team fighting. It definitely has gotten better. It kept them in this series and gave them some of those miracle plays. But it's still trying to capitalize off of mistakes that FPX are making. You know, it was Gimgoon who went to the back line and then just insta-died. Like, I guess that's Vladimir, probably the team fight. But, like, if FPX don't make those mistakes, if they clean it up, then Snake don't get those opportunities. So
I didn't see any chance out of the BPs. Like, how do they win this? I feel like this is a kind of a coaching or team thing where they have to figure out what are their better picks. I didn't like their first 2 picks. I felt like they lacked a lot of power in those first two picks, while the other side picked up Vladimir and they picked up Azir. Azir's still 80% win rate in the LPL, so I felt like they just got a lot more out of their draft.
And just the combo out of the damage, the fact that you have Vladimir, Azir, and Vayne all on the same time, if that game ever went late, you were never going to out-damage them.
We saw that they took early steps to try to prevent that from happening. The 5-man invade. They found LWX, but they couldn't catch him. He just turned around and walked away, and they just had to sit there and say, oh, well, I guess we play it out normally or something? What do we do in this situation? Remake? Is that how that works?
I don't think you get a remake for that. Just on the rules.
But again, Snake, it seemed like they had the right idea early on, but they just could not find the opportunities to. Frost, get in there.
For me, it has to look at Guoguo. I agree that, you know, if you have that combination of the Malzahar and the Kha'Zix, you need to execute on it, but Guoguo made so many questionable ultimates. The one that really comes to mind was the 2v2 in the mid lane where SofM was sitting in the Raptor camp and Guoguo was getting chased by 2 people. He decides to turn around and ult, and SofM hesitates. He's like, this is not a good idea, but let's go anyway. And then just like fed 2 kills to the mid jungle combo. I was like, I guess that's early game. So...
that's exactly the play that I wanted to talk about, because it really seemed like Pepper was instigating a lot of this pressure and forcing these bad decisions, not just out of SofM, but also from Guoguo in that mid lane. Because we finally did get to see him use his ultimate before the 10-minute mark. It was just not a great ultimate,
I just feel like Pepper is playing around lane pressure too well. We could see when the mid lane was pushing up, he was following his mid laner, telling his mid laner to slant to the left side, we're going to contest his Raptors. He did the same thing when, in the top side, Gimgoon had pressure in his lane. And I feel like, for me, Flandre was kind of a letdown this series. I feel like both times on Gangplank, like, he wasn't really as impactful as you would want that pick to kind of go, and maybe he could have picked something like the Camille, which was open, that could make those picks.
Well, our MVP, it's going to be LWX 10, 2, and 6. If ever a man tumbles forward more, somebody call double lift because they need to have a head-to-head. It's LWX.
I mean, this guy flashes, though, and he flashes forward. That said, he got the pentakill, so I understand why he gets man of the match. I still would have preferred Pepper. I think he was more influential on the series. I think he was more influential on this game. But, you know, it's fine. LWX had a consistent week.
So then to get back to what you said, we were talking about Flandre. Frost, you were looking a little peeved about Flandre's performance?
No, you know... I thought Flandre was part of the reason why Snake were still alive in a lot of these instances.
That is true.
His team fights were good. I think his lane phase and some of his late game.
I just don't want him on Gangplank. I feel like Gangplank into Vlad.
But it's one of his main champions. Like, this is the problem with Flandre, is that he is what we call a limited effective champion pool, in which he maybe has 3 champions that he plays like a god. But if he ever goes outside of that, you're like, oh, please no, don't do that.
If only Fizz and Hecarim top were still meta, then perhaps we could see him return to power.
Shyvana, Fizz, and Hecarim.
Well, hey, there we go.
I just feel like Snake didn't have a game plan after the BPs. Like, it's like, what do you do with this company?
But this kind of goes back
sure.
to a reoccurring problem with Snake. Their coaching staff, I mean, it's no surprise. Snake very publicly, you know, they forced their coach to step back down. It's now the coach that has rejoined them. I think that guy is hilarious. If you go into Snake's practice room, they have signs everywhere that says, we will not make the same mistake twice. They are one of the teams known for practicing the hardest. They usually show up and practice or begin practicing earlier than LPL teams. But, like, something is not gelling with this team because it's been too many many splits with the same roster to have these types of results, and it especially feels bad at home in their home stage.
Yeah,
I mean, you heard how vocal the crowd was over that. Somehow they have to find the thorn in the lion's paw that's holding them back. But Frost, I also want to get back to something that you said at the end of first game. It was, let's see here, FPX is the real deal.
They are the real deal.
Still stand by it?
Yes, because the thing is
Okay.
you can see exactly where they need to make adjustments in this series, and it's just experience things. It's just cleaning up their own play, not making these mistakes, because they have the confidence, like, I'm going to style on this guy, and then they try and they just like mess it up mechanically, like, ooh, okay. But if they just clean that up, they're very smart. Their draft phase have great game plans, so they obviously have a strong coaching staff behind them, and they are very talented players. So I think they have all of the combinations or all of the intangibles to go the distance.
I want this to be on the desk. Where do you think they're going to end up in their conference?
Yeah, I was actually looking at the banners behind us. I was like, where does FPX actually fall? And I think they're in solid third place. And in
Solid
this
third,
group,
okay.
that's pretty intense because you've got EDG and WE. FPX took EDG the distance as well, even though it was a 2-0. But after we've seen OMG, I don't think OMG get to slot into third. I think
Nope.
it's a race between them.
Well, we're going to get a chance to see them more a little bit later on this week. Right now, though, we got to take a look to what's happening tomorrow here in the LPL. It is Saturday. We've got a lot of matches going on. First up, it's Top versus RNG. Shortly afterward, we get the chance to watch RW Rogue Warriors take on Invictus Gaming. That looks to be quite the, to use your vernacular, Frost, the banger.
The banger. That is why we are showing that one. So as you can see on your screen, there are two series that are playing at the same time. LGD versus Suning will be played in LGD's home arena in Hongzhou, and the RW versus Invictus Gaming, which we thought was the hype matchup, is the one we're going to be bringing you.
Looks to be very fun indeed. Of course, Rogue Warriors still trying to find their own footing with the new team, and Invictus Gaming is looking pretty comfortable with Jackie Love. What's your take on that? Looking forward to him?
Oh yeah, I want to see some Draven up from Jackie Love and some Misfortune too. He's been playing those a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've already seen plenty of hype AD carry plays. Already the first pentakill of 2018 going to none other than LWX. What a start to the new year. But again, we're going to be keeping our eyes on those AD carries tomorrow. Once again, final thoughts on the day. We're just about done here. Anything else?
That was a sick series.
I
That's all
really
I gotta
enjoyed
say.
that.
It was sick.
I'm really glad I got to cast that one as my first cast of the LPL. So hope everyone, thank you for tuning in, and I'll try to do better.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you did great. That was great.
Okay.
Excellent. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. This has been the LPL 2018. That was day number 3. Don't go anywhere. Actually, do go somewhere. Don't stay right there. You really need to do something for the next 12 or 16 hours until
Great
our
toss,
next
Dom.
broadcast. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow. Bye.